My brothers in this. Y'all this nigga black my eye, man. I don't want to talk. Go get my shake bag. Go.
YoungBoy really out here treating his so-called crash dummies like they is kids. And now we got footage of NBA YoungBoy straight up putting hands on NBA Ben 10. Yeah, this clip is going viral, and not in a good way. We're talking a full-on fight between YoungBoy and one of his own day ones, leaving Ben 10 with a black eye and getting him kicked clean off the entire tour. But wait till you hear what sparked all this, cause it's wild. This whole blow-up started over some wrinkled clothes, no exaggeration. YoungBoy allegedly beat up his own homie because Ben 10 sat on his outfit and creased it up. We've got video of YoungBoy going off about it, and according to sources close to the situation, that argument quickly turned physical, and it might change everything inside the 4KT camp.
Hey, shoot for my clothes! Shoot! My fucking dad! Ain't no bitch for my clothes!
And let's be clear, this ain't just messy backstage drama. This situation exposes how YoungBoy really treats the people around him and why folks been whispering for years that he's got serious control issues. So let's break this all the way down, because what went down between YB and Ben 10 tells you exactly how toxic things really are behind the scenes. Before we get into the fight footage, you gotta understand who NBA Ben 10 actually is and why this shocked so many people. Ben 10, real name Benjamin Fields, has been one of YoungBoy's closest friends since they were kids growing up in Baton Rouge. This wasn't some random hanger-on, this was inner circle. He stood beside YB through legal trouble, street beefs, and the rise to fame. Ben 10 appeared in multiple YB music videos, went on tour with him, and was considered family in the 4KT camp. When YoungBoy was locked up or tied up with legal drama, Ben 10 was one of the ones holding things down and representing. Loyalty? He had that on lock, maybe too much, and that's what makes this whole situation feel even darker. According to people close to the situation, Ben 10 had been frustrated for a while with how YB treats people. Sources say he was tired of being talked to like a child, especially after years of proving his loyalty. And that's where the bigger picture comes in. This relationship shows how power really works in YoungBoy's circle, and what happens when someone stops being a yes man. Ben 10 wasn't afraid to think for himself, and that independence may have sealed his fate. Now let's get into what really kicked this off, because the details are crazier than you'd expect. Multiple sources say Ben 10 was backstage before a show and sat on a chair where YB had laid out his stage outfit. And this wasn't some regular clothes, we're talking a custom designer fit worth thousands. When YB saw the wrinkles, he completely lost it. The footage going around shows YoungBoy snapping, yelling things like, "I told you about my clothes," and talking down to Ben 10 like he was beneath him. But what people don't realize is that clip only shows the start. Witnesses say YB's anger went way past yelling. He started digging into old issues, embarrassing Ben 10 in front of everybody backstage. This wasn't really about clothes anymore. This was about power. And this is where things got physical. After YB finished going off, Ben 10 allegedly spoke up and said he was done being disrespected. That one sentence reportedly set YoungBoy off. The footage shows YB rushing him and throwing the first punch, catching Ben 10 off guard with a clean hit to the face. And he didn't stop there. YB kept swinging while Ben 10 tried to back away and protect himself. What makes this even harder to watch, nobody stepped in. The whole crew just stood there watching their boss beat on their homie. That alone says everything about the fear and control YB holds over the room. Folks were more scared of YB than concerned for Ben 10's safety. Security eventually broke it up, but the damage was already done. Black eye, busted lip, and humiliation in front of people he thought were family. What happened next tells you exactly how YB's organization operates. Instead of apologizing, YB doubled down. Sources say he labeled Ben 10 as disloyal and disrespectful, saying he couldn't have people around him who didn't know their place. This wasn't about wrinkled clothes anymore. This was about making an example. Ben 10 was immediately kicked off the tour, removed from the bus, lost backstage access, and was basically exiled from 4KT overnight. 1 minute you're inner circle, the next you're erased, all because he sat on an outfit and dared to stand up for himself. What's even more disturbing is how the rest of the crew reacted. Nobody defended Ben 10. Nobody questioned YB. Everyone just fell in line like it was justified. That's not loyalty. That's psychological control. And here's the thing, this isn't the first time. Multiple sources say YoungBoy has a pattern of putting hands on people close to him when he feels disrespected. DJ Academics even talked about witnessing YB yelling at and disciplining his homies, comparing it to a father scolding kids. But what he was really seeing was an abusive power dynamic. The Lil Dump situation raised eyebrows too, showing up with a busted lip and blood on his face, never confirming what happened. That silence spoke loud. This pattern shows YoungBoy doesn't see his crew as equals. He sees subordinates, people to control through fear. In the Ben 10 incident, just put that dynamic on full display. This wasn't about clothes, it was about dominance, a reminder that loyalty only goes one way in YB's world. You give everything, and the moment you push back, you're labeled disloyal and cut off. The way everyone reacted proves how deep the manipulation runs. People were more worried about staying in YB's good graces than helping their friend. That's fear, not respect. And that type of environment traps people, financially, emotionally, and psychologically. From a business standpoint, this was a disaster. Ben 10 wasn't just a friend, he was an asset, someone who helped build the brand. Destroying that relationship over ego creates instability and sends a message that nobody is safe. And let's not ignore the legal side. Assault is assault. If Ben 10 decides to press charges or file a lawsuit, this could get very serious, especially with footage circulating online. What's even more telling is the fan reaction. Instead of calling out the violence, a lot of people are laughing, joking, and praising YB for checking his homie. That shows how normalized toxic behavior has become in hip-hop culture. For Ben 10, the humiliation is public and permanent. For YB, this might look like power, but it also exposes him to legal trouble and long-term damage to his reputation. At the end of the day, this situation forces one big question. What does loyalty really mean in YB's camp? Because what he demands isn't loyalty, it's obedience. And the moment someone stops submitting, they're gone. YB gives them loyalty on his terms, no matter how unfair or straight-up abusive it gets. And that kind of one-sided loyalty never lasts. It breeds resentment, tension, and eventually, betrayal. People can only take so much disrespect before they either walk away or snap back at the person who's been mistreating them. Now let's talk about the real danger here, the legal fallout. That footage of YB fighting Ben 10 isn't just embarrassing, it's potentially career-ending. Assault is a criminal offense, and having it caught on video makes things a whole lot easier for prosecutors. Even if Ben 10 chooses not to press charges, the state can still move forward based solely on that footage. And considering YB's history with the law and the fact that he's currently on probation, any new charges could land him right back behind bars. On top of that, there's serious civil liability. Ben 10 could sue for assault, battery, emotional distress, the whole list. With YB's money and the public nature of this incident, that lawsuit could turn into a massive financial hit. And from a business standpoint, this looks just as bad. Labels, promoters, and partners don't want their names tied to someone who keeps getting caught on camera being violent, especially their own people. But let's be real, this situation is bigger than one fight. This is about toxic leadership and what happens when power lands in the hands of someone who doesn't have the emotional maturity to handle success. YB's behavior checks all the boxes of an abusive leader: fear, intimidation, humiliation, control. And leadership like that always self-destructs. It might work short-term, but eventually it drives away good people and collapses under its own chaos. This also reflects a bigger issue in hip-hop culture, where violence gets excused or even celebrated as long as someone is successful. That mindset makes it harder for victims to speak up and easier for abusive behavior to keep going unchecked. And when social media turns humiliation into viral entertainment, it adds another layer of trauma that people have to carry long after the cameras stop rolling. The fallout from the Ben 10 incident is going to linger. People in YB's circle are definitely looking over their shoulders right now, wondering if they'll be next for making the wrong move or saying the wrong thing. In a fear-based environment like that, kills creativity, honesty, and growth. When everyone's focused on avoiding punishment instead of doing their best work, the whole operation suffers. For Ben 10, this is a life-altering moment. He's being forced to rebuild his identity outside of the organization he helped build. And while that's painful right now, it might end up being the healthiest move he could make. As for YB, this incident guarantees more scrutiny from law enforcement, the media, and the public. Every future situation will be viewed through this same lens, making it harder for him to dodge accountability. So here's the real bottom line. This situation shows the true cost of toxic leadership. YB may have won the physical fight, but he lost something way more valuable, the respect and loyalty of someone who stood by him from day one. And the fact that all this exploded over wrinkled clothes says everything about how deep those anger and control issues run. That reaction was wildly disproportionate and exposed an inability to handle even minor frustrations without violence. For young people watching this unfold, let the lesson be clear. Success doesn't give you the right to abuse others. Real leadership is about respect, accountability, and treating people with dignity even when they mess up. This isn't behavior to admire or copy. That viral footage is going to follow both of them forever, but in very different ways. For YB, it's proof of a toxic pattern that could cost him legally and professionally. For Ben 10, it's a painful reminder of how someone he called family treated him. So what do you all think? Did YB go too far, or do you think he was justified? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you subscribe because this story is far from over. The way YB treats his people is eventually going to catch up with him, and when it does, he might find himself standing alone. Because the real tragedy here isn't just the fight, it's the destruction of a friendship and the exposure of a culture that excuses violence as long as someone is winning. And that's not something hip-hop or any community should be celebrating.